My guest today is Ruben Gonzalez, a Winter Olympian who competed in 4 different decades in the LUGE event. You'll hear him talk about the multiple obstacles he's overcome to become the man he is today. In today's episode, we'll also talk about his new book, The Shortcuts, the Fastest Way to Achieve Your Goals. Welcome to Lifeology.
Hey, James, good to be here.
I am looking forward to this. I think it was Steph and Kevin Mason who connected us. They were on my show years ago. They have a great show in Columbus. But yeah, so I'm really glad to meet you. It was an honor to speak to someone who's competed for 4 different decades in the luge. How does that feel to accomplish so much specifically in that?
I pinch myself. I was always the last kid
Yeah.
picked for PE in school. I'm not super fast or super strong, and always had the Olympic dream, but it was a pipe dream because I didn't believe it was
Yeah.
possible. And when I was 21, I see Scott Hamilton win the gold medal in figure
Uh-huh.
skating. And in my mind, Olympians were, superheroes, right? They were bigger than life.
Yeah.
When I saw Scott Hamilton, 5 feet tall, I thought if that little guy can win, I can at least play. And so he gave me hope. And I went to Lake Placid at 21. At first, they wouldn't take me. They said, "You're too old, man." I've always been too old.
Yeah.
But I went, learned it, and 4 years and a few broken bones later, I made the Calgary Olympics, and I got to play
Mm.
with the big boys 4 times. I'm 60 years old.
Wow.
I have a brand new sled, sliding better than ever, and trying to make the next one. If I make the next one, I'll be the oldest Winter Olympian in history, breaking a
That is
100-year-old record.
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm so hopeful for you. Now, 21 years old, yeah, that's quote older. So if you hadn't really been training for that, how do you train for that? For
Well,
the luge?
you go to the tracks, obviously. You don't go to the Olympic Training Center. You go to the cities. It's a little bit more like a Formula One circuit, right? Where you go where the tracks are.
Okay.
It's a little traveling circus. And you take 3 or 4 runs in the morning. Coaches stand where everybody's having challenges. You debrief at the bottom with your coach. And then lunch at the hotel. Go back for another session, 3 or 4 more. And then we watch videos, right? We deconstruct the videos, try to figure out, how to make it better tomorrow, and about an hour of sled work in the evening, and then you do it again. And you never
Mm.
spend more than 2 weeks at a single track because at that point you start getting bored. Your mind starts getting bored. You start
Oh,
making,
interesting.
you get overconfident, start making stupid mistakes, and get hurt. And so by going to different tracks every 2 weeks, you're always increasing, right? You're always improving. That change keeps you
Hmm.
sharp, and you come back to that first track and you're faster.
Actually, when I say all this, I know what the luge is, but there may be a lot of people who don't know what that is. I know. So, why don't you walk us through specifically what the luge is, so people are like, oh yeah, I've seen that before. Maybe they don't
Sure.
have a name for
Sure. If you've seen Cool Runnings, the Jamaican
it.
bobsledders,
Yeah.
we slide down the same track. There's 3 sliding sports in the Olympics. There's bobsled, skeleton, which is head first, and luge, where
Oh
you're
wow.
laying down and going feet first. Um, ours is. They say ours is the fastest, but it's only a couple of miles an hour, maybe 5 miles an hour faster. But we
Mm.
account for 70% of the injuries because everything in the luge is
Oh.
counterintuitive. It's the only sport timed to the 1/1000th of a second in the Olympics, winter
Oh
or summer.
gosh.
So everything counts. Your breathing, everything. If you weren't anal before, you become anal after a few years in the
Yeah, I'm
sport.
sure. Now, is it a single sport or is it a team sport?
There's singles. I do the singles. There's doubles. 2 guys on the sled. They're each doing half of the driving. Only the top guy can see. So the top guy's giving the bottom guy shoulder signals, tell them when to steer, so they
Oh
can
my
steer in
gosh. Wow.
concert. They're just adding women's doubles this next Olympics in Milan, and there's a team sport as well, and where there's a singles, a doubles, and a couple of singles ladies, singles men, and then the doubles team, and it's a relay where at the bottom, as you're crossing
Oh
the
wow.
finish line, you hit this pad, and that opens up the gate up at the top. It's really cool. It's
Oh, that's really cool.
it's a great TV sport. That's a
Yeah,
lot of
I bet it
fun.
looks.
It's a
It looks
blast to
like
do.
it. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah. How fast do you end up going?
80, 90 miles an hour. You pull 6 Gs on some of the curves, not at every track, but you do. And so your head's hanging off the end of the sled. And so you need strong neck, strong lower back because the start is
Hmm.
basically it's like a deadlift, right? It's a horizontal deadlift to shoot you forward. And then we have spikes on our fingertips. We used to build up speed, build up speed before curve one. And so the beginning is real high energy, lots of power, right? And then you lay down, you have to be as calm and relaxed as you can. If you watch super slow mo pictures of videos of the top guys, you can see ripples going over their body because they're totally relaxed. They're not, and that makes you faster.
Really?
Relaxed is faster in any
Wow.
sport.
I think that's really synonymous with life. You know, when life happens, because it happens to all of us, to find that stillness in the moment. So here you are flying down, all this is happening, and such chaos around you, and then to be able to find that stillness. How were you able to do that?
Since I got started so late, and they actually had to cram 10 years of luge training into just 2 years. So I got hurt a
I
lot.
bet.
And, um, and so I was always scared. I white knuckled it for 25 years. And on the road to my last Olympics, which was Vancouver 2010, my coach, he says, "Man, I can't. You've been sliding for 25 years. I can't believe you're still scared. What's going on in your head?" And
Mm-hmm.
he said, and I said, "Man, as I see those walls going faster and faster, I get tighter and tighter. I can't believe I can even steer at the bottom of the track because by then I'm stiff like a
Yeah.
board." And he said, "Man, you're focusing on the wrong thing. Stop looking at those walls. They're just scaring you. Put on blinders. Pretend you're a horse with blinders. Focus on a spot
Mm.
30 feet in front of you, and your thinking needs to be, what do I need to do in every section of every curve to ensure I'll have the best time? Because uh, they could clock you at the fastest speed, but if you crash at the bottom, you lose the race. It's not
Yeah.
about the speed; it's
Yeah.
about the time, right?" And so that night, I did about 100 mind runs, right, visualization runs with blinders on.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, on my next run, the fear disappeared. I mean, it didn't reduce
Mm.
in intensity; it completely disappeared. Changing the focus changed the whole experience. So, as a speaker, I've been speaking professionally for 20 almost 22
Yeah.
years now. I do lots of sales kickoffs because my background was copier sales, and so I
Mm.
tell this story to salespeople. I says, "Look, don't focus on the economy. Okay, the economy is the same for everybody, whether it's good or bad. You need to focus on what do you need to do in the next 10, 15 minutes. Who do you need to call? Maybe it's a follow-up call. Maybe it's just a relationship call. Whatever it is to move your business forward. Don't watch the news. Don't read the newspaper, right? Because that's just negative stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
If they scare you or if they make you mad, the ratings go up, but it's not good for business. And so it's the same concept, right? What are you going to focus on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it also comes down to, can you focus on the things you can control or things you cannot control. You can't control the walls, but you can control where your focus is, and I think it's a really good reminder for all of us. People who go through multiple things in life, it's easy to get lost in the weeds of the loss as opposed to, like, as I said, the proactive things that one can do.
Right, right, absolutely.
I want to transition to the book, The Shortcut: The Fastest Way to Achieve Your Goals. How did that book come about?
I had written 5 books, and they were all how-to books, right? Nonfiction.
Mm-hmm.
And last year, I did my first TED Talk, and it's called "The
Mm-hmm.
Power of Following the Leader," because I was always very tenacious. My superpower was I don't quit. I'm perseverant. My high school nickname was Bulldog for that reason, right? Kids just
Mm-hmm.
started calling me that. And that helped me in the luge, right? When I saw Scott Hamilton and decided, hey, I want to
Yeah.
go to the Olympics, I looked at the list of the summer sports. I thought, forget it. You got to be Superman to do any of that stuff. Then I started looking at the winter sports, and I thought, hey, I need to put together a plan that fits my strength, right? So I picked the luge because I thought it looks
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of broken bones, maybe be a lot of quitters. I just won't quit, right? And perseverance will stand out. But that
Yeah.
that bulldogness made me very uncoachable and made me a hardhead. In fact, one of
Mm.
my first coaches, my first coach, he says, "Your nickname, you really weren't Bulldog, okay? That was the wrong nickname because you were half Bulldog and half Mule. I mean, if you'd have just listened to me the first time I taught you stuff, you wouldn't have gotten hurt
Yeah.
nearly as much." And so I made this talk about the power of just letting go, right? Once you find
Mm-hmm.
somebody that's done what you want to do, right? A coach, mentor, somebody that's done it, not a theorist. And if you trust them, then just let go and, follow the leader, right? Take their advice. It's the
Yeah.
fastest way to reach your goals. And golly, in less than a year, that TED Talk got a million views. And so I thought, wow, maybe I'm not the
Yeah.
only mule out there, right? Maybe there's a few more hardheads. And
Yeah.
so I wrote this book, and it's a parable book, and
Uh-huh.
about a young exec who's, he thinks he's get God's gift to business, but he won't listen to his VP of sales, and he's about to lose his job. And so that's the shortcut, and he needs to get over
Mm.
himself, and just follow the leader, and then everything starts
Yeah.
changing. So I won't do anything without following the leader now. I mean, a few years
Yeah.
ago, I always wanted to run with the bulls in Spain. Well, before I went, and I did, I've done it twice, but before I went, I read 3 books about Pamplona, right? Pamplona, Spain. That's the
Mm-hmm.
town where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
Then I called one of the authors who'd run it for about 20 years. And I asked him for some coaching, right? Give me some tips, man. I want the experience, but I don't want any extra holes in my body. He just gave me a handful of simple things that I never would have thought
Oh,
of and
nice.
potentially will save my life, right? So that's just
Wow.
my you know my way now. Just find the leader and take the shortcut.
Yeah, and I think it's also that could be applicable to many things. So if I want more joy in my life, well, who do I know that has a lot of joy? How, so let me just talk to them. How do you do that? How do you find that joy? If someone's more financially astute than I am, well, let me talk to them about what they do. So it doesn't have to be someone that, in my opinion, doesn't have to be someone who's like on the mountaintop all the time, or someone who's just this incredibly successful person. But just look for the attributes that you want, your personal attributes you want to work on. Talk to them and figure it out, because they're clearly better at it than I am. So why
Yeah,
not get to know that and understand that more so they can teach me how to do it?
yeah. When I was a kid, my dad always preached, the books you read and the people you hang around with, right? And um,
Hmm.
and he said you want to hang around winners, people that are already done what you want to do, people that are doing
Yeah.
things that they don't whine, and you become like the people you associate with, right?
Yeah, you
Because
do.
you just pick up their habits. And so, well, the best diet in the world is hanging around skinny people, right? I mean,
It's true.
if you want to, if you want to build some muscle, hang around some muscly people, right? And you'll pick up their
Yeah.
habits. And whenever I talk about this stuff, I always get pushback. Oh well, they're so busy. I don't want to impose, and I have to, I don't know, kind of change their frame, right, at how they're looking at it. I say, look, you know how people always say, oh, he's successful, but he's not happy, or she's successful, but
Mm.
she's not fulfilled. She's always looking for something else. Well, the reason is because success is not the gold medal. Everybody thinks it's the gold medal, but it's
Yeah.
not. It's a silver medal, right? The
Yeah.
gold
That's fair.
medal is called significance. That means you helped
Mm.
somebody else succeed, right? You created
Yeah.
a ripple. You made a difference, and that makes you feel good inside. That fills that hole in your heart. And so, as long as your attitude is, I'm going to do whatever they tell me I need to do to reach that goal, then I owe it to them to call them, because
Yeah.
I'll help them get the gold. They'll help me get the silver. And who knows, I might make a new friend. And so that's basically what
Yes.
I see you nodding big time, right? Because that's
Yeah.
what you do. That's what we both do, right? We're just kind
Yeah.
of passing the
Yeah.
torch of success to other people, and it makes us feel good.
I I read where Harry Firestone, Henry Ford, and Thomas Edison all had summer homes together, and so it's fantastic to me because I would love to be part of those conversations. But it's interesting because like sharpens like, and so you want to surround yourself with individuals who are leveling up or doing things. Now, when you look at your friend group right now, I'm sure they're wonderful people, but if you're the smartest person in your group, or if you are the most successful person in your group, you're only going to go as great as that group is, because no, you're not learning and growing. There's what's called in
Right.
psychology, we have what's called the law of the group. The law of the group basically means you become the sum of the average of the people with whom you associate. So let's say, Ruben, you come in at a level 8 of positivity, and I come at a level 4 of positivity. Well, if you're not careful, you're going to decrease yours to a 6, but I will increase to a 6. And so that's why it's
Mm-hmm.
really important to say, if you are, once again, the most successful person, success, for those of you who can't see me, my hands are in quotations. If you're the most successful person, then unfortunately you're not going to grow. So it's always looking to level up. And the people who are already up there, as they maintain their level and their awareness, then they will continue to rise, is because they're giving back. So the difference is that when you hang out with people who aren't aware of this, and yes, everybody becomes the sum of that, but when you hang out with people who are going places, the synergy, in other words, the energy that they create, you get sucked up into that and you level up
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I really, I've known that forever, but I really like the way you explained it. 'Cause I'm a chemistry biology double major, so you threw in the math, and so if you can graph it, I love it. So thanks. But yeah, there's actually a book about those guys. Lindbergh and
Oh yeah.
Edison and Harry Firestone, and well, gosh, you live in Florida. I'm sure you've been to the place where
Yeah.
they lived, right? I mean,
Yes.
I love Edison and all the things he's done.
Yeah.
He would work on one thing for 90 minutes, and then he'd take a break. He had
Mm.
a little pond in his back, and he'd go. He liked to fish. That's where he
Hmm.
got a lot of
Mm.
ideas, and then he'd come back and he'd work on maybe the same project or another project, but for 90 minutes. We homeschool our kids, and ever since they were little, I would tell them, look, here's the deal. You give me a 90-minute chunk, no interruptions at all. Don't even wave at me through the door, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got me for 30 minutes. We can play a game, we can go play catch, whatever you want to do,
Mm.
30 minutes. And then we'll do another one. And so if I could get, when they were little, if I could get 4 of these 90-minute, uninterrupted
Oh,
chunks
that's
of
perfect.
time,
Yeah.
I get a lot of work done.
Yeah. 6 hours right there. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
6 hours of solid, right? I mean, no checking emails.
Yes.
It's a little known fact, but Edison, he never checked his emails during this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they hadn't
Yeah.
invented
Well, I
them
mean, he
yet.
just didn't have it then, but I was like, oh, they didn't invent it, but I was like, I was waiting for that, but I was like, I don't
What?
know if I
Wait
should
a
say
minute.
that
What?
here. That's funny. That is too funny. Yeah, it's just a good point. I mean, I think that we have so many distractions in our life, and so I know for me, I have to be very mindful of that because um, we all do lots of things, but for me, I know if I get distracted, then all of a sudden it takes away from my creativity. So for me, I have to, I'm sure many people do, I have set times of when will I check my email? I check it at this time and this time, and that's the only time I check it. And so from there, then I will respond in kind as needed, and then I'll wait to the next round because I have too many things to do. Because one of my favorite quotes is "Divided waters lose force." And so if I'm doing
Mm,
multiple things at once, the force of my energy, the force of my commitment, the force of my concentration is decreased or is limited significantly because I'm not able to focus on just specifically one thing. Most people don't realize that only less than 2% of people can actually multitask. I'm sure people listening right now are like, oh, I can multitask. There's a difference when it comes to what true multitasking is where you can, for example, speak in another language and then write in English. That is actually multitasking. And so that's the actual part where there's difference between you're actually walking and chewing gum. That's not multitasking. So it's the ability to take your brain and split it in a way where you're effective in both ways, 100% effective. And so that's how they kind of um, measured it was just how efficient are you in doing both tasks at once versus doing them together. And so that's one thing, like I said, divided waters lose force. So the more focused you are specifically in one thing, the
right.
more you will be able to be successful in that one thing. And then you can do the next thing.
Right. And, uh, my my third Olympics was Salt Lake City, and I was 39, and it had been 10 years since my last Olympics. And I walk in the Olympic Village, and I felt just like a dad visiting his kids in
Mm.
college because everybody else was in their 20s. And to make it worse, everybody would ask me the same question. What are you coaching? And I said, no, I'm competing. I'm an athlete. And they look at me up and down, and they said, no, come on, what are you? They didn't even believe me.
Oh,
and so
wow.
so
Wow.
then after that, I quit for about 7 years. I got the itch again, started training. When I made Vancouver, I was 47. Everybody thought I was coach's dad, right? But by then, the other coaches are like, do it for the old guys, right? and
That's
so,
awesome.
so if I make this next one, I'll be 63. But I'm
Mm.
sliding better than ever. I'm finally got myself
Wow.
out of the way, and
Yeah.
and I've gotten to the point where if coach says shave your head, wear a lipstick that'll make you go faster, done. Right? I
I'll
mean, I'll
do it.
just do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And so my learning curve has just shot up. And it's funny. Coach said, "Look, uh, you're sliding better than ever. Right? Your driving is really good." For you, right? Let's qualify that. Your initial pull, you're strong like a bull. So you're strong. So you're not going to get much stronger at your age. But with paddling, right, when you're paddling, you have to get really down and exert force on the ice to move
Hmm.
yourself forward. He says, man, you've been sitting at a desk writing books so long that you're all stiff. We got to open up those hips. So no more weight lifting for you. You can do calisthenics if you want,
Mm.
but you got to do yoga. And we're going to stretch you out so you can,
Yeah.
and if we can gain 1 mile an hour before curve one, you got a shot. And
Mm.
and I told him, don't tell me that number that you're thinking in your head, okay? Because that'll just screw me up, right? Because if I don't do
Yeah.
anything, because people say, you have to think, is it possible? Okay, don't focus on is it probable. Man, it was never probable that I would make it to the Olympics. But if you can control the probability by how much you commit, right? If you give it
Hmm.
everything you got, then there's no regrets, right? And you got a better shot. But if you try to coast,
Wow.
man, no way.
Yeah. Well, we only have a couple more seconds here, but how is it for you to? How is your self esteem when you come into these places and see all these young kids, if you will? How is it for you to? What self talk do you use to really bolster your confidence?
At first, um, when I first started competing internationally, I had imposter syndrome. I thought because I hadn't paid the
Mm.
price,
Hmm.
and I'm all of a
Hmm.
sudden I'm in this room with all these champions. It's like you just got your driver's permit. You're 16-year-old kid. You got your driver's permit. They put you in this room and you're about to race Indy 500, and there's all these great racers around. I couldn't even talk to them, and the Germans who
Mm.
totally dominate the sport, they wouldn't give me the time of day, right? Because I hadn't paid the price. And it wasn't until
Yeah.
2 years after my first Olympics, I'm walking down the track, and one of the Germans, he goes, Gonzalez, hey, Speedy Gonzalez, hey, come, hope you have a good day. And I got pissed. I thought, man, what's wrong with you guys? I've been nice to you for years, and
Yeah.
and now I'm Speedy Gonzalez. He goes, come, we must talk to you. And the whole team came down with the coaches and everything. And they says, we have 4 tracks in a country the size of Texas. We've been training, some of us, since we were 5 years old. And finally, we were best in our region. Then we made the national team. 10 men get to make the national team. And then we made the Olympic team, only 3 men. But there's so many great losers coming in behind us. We'll be lucky to make 2. But you know what we're going to do afterwards? We're going to coach for the rest of our lives, because we dedicate our lives to maintain this dynasty that we have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're sick and tired of people seeing, they come, they do one Olympics, they disappear. And you know what we call them? I said, no, what? Olympic tourist, always with their little camera. But this is 2 years. 2 years after your first Olympics. Obviously, you're trying to make the Albertville Olympics. Whether you make it or not doesn't matter to me. Well, doesn't matter to us, right? Jerm is telling me. What matters to us is you're respecting the sport. And so today you have earned our respect. And man, that's my gold medal.
Wow.
I'm covered with goosebumps now, just telling you that. And I read that you're a pianist, and that didn't just happen. Yeah, I'm sure you got your 10,000 hours in. And so when you think of kids that do a couple of years and quit, you probably, but when you meet somebody that paid the price, you have you can relate, right? You earned the respect.
That's really important as far as paying the price. I mean, there are wonderful, talented people out there, but I think the dedication, the tenacity, and the drive, I think that's what sets that apart from other people. And some people may be more talented than others, but as you said, that tenacity, or I use that word, but it's that drive that really connects people, because once you pay your dues, then you can teach other people. But when you don't, and you're like, sometimes people become entitled, or they can become, just overly inflated with their egos, and there's no substance when it comes to that.
Right. So, both of our kids have done piano for 12 years. And,
Nice.
And our son, he's going to A&M, and then he's, in engineering. But he says, you know what?
Oh, wow.
If, he wants to be a mechanical engineer, and then he wants to transfer, into the Air Force Academy and finish up here.
Wow.
But, and
music is very mathematical too. So
and he told me that, and it uses both sides of your brain. And he says, you know what, I would have just as much liked to have gotten a music major, because I love music, but it just doesn't pay. It goes, well,
it does not pay. That's true.
No, but you got that for the rest of your life. You can jam with your friends and have a good time.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, our time is up. That time literally flew by. You and I could literally talk for hours. Ruben Gonzalez, thank you so much for being a fantastic guest on my show today. If my viewers and listeners want to find out more information about you, to learn all the things you do, to have you be keynote speaker for them, and to purchase your book, The Shortcut, The Fastest Way to Achieve Your Goals, where do they find all this information online?
If you'll go to theshortcutbook.com, theshortcutbook.com. That's just a page in my website. And so from there, you can actually watch that TED Talk the book came from that talk, and you can go into the website and see a bunch of other stuff. It's good stuff. So theshortcutbook.com.
Perfect. Awesome. My viewers and listeners also know that if they can't find this information any other place, simply go to the show notes at jamesmiller@lifeology.com, and I'll connect you with Ruben Gonzalez and, once again, his book, The Shortcut, The Fastest Way to Achieve Your Goals. Thank you so much for being a fantastic guest today.
Oh, I loved it.